Okay, so yeah, tonight's featured reader was going to be Eleanor Wendt, but she couldn't come tonight, has a bit of a cold, so I'm pinch hitting for her. And one of the, I don't know, downfalls, not downfall, one of the interesting things about having a book called November Reconsidered is that when November comes around, I have to reconsider reading parts of it. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing tonight, and then we'll follow it up with the open mic. I wanted to start with, though, a poem from Stephen Robert Heine, who is feeling better now, apparently, but he had some health problems a couple weeks ago. I call him the best-selling poet in Oregon. Solely because from 1976 or 77 until just about 2 years ago, he would go to the Oregon State Fair and sell his poetry books. And so that was a lot of years of selling poetry books. He's got a lot of books, so he's probably got a couple hundred or a couple thousand around the state. And this is his poem, The Real Enemy by Stephen Robert Heine. I am not afraid of defeat at all, but I greatly fear lacking the courage to try. For to fail is to proudly display your scars, but to know nothing reaps shame, which the future asks why. That's Stephen Heine. So I have a couple, maybe 6 or 7 poems from my book. And so the idea behind the book was to take a moment in time and then examine it and write down into it as deeply as I could. And so when you look at the book, the titles of the poems are a little bit odd because what they are is a place and then like a time of day, and then a day, and a date. And I wrote the book from midnight to midnight, so midnight in the morning all the way around to midnight at night. And different things that happen at those times of day and at different times. And a lot of it's autobiographical, but some of it isn't. And so I want to start with the first poem in the book, which is called In the Dark, 12:05 a.m., Saturday, November 30th, 2019. And so, we'll just go ahead and read this one. The naked metal clangor crying in the night. The stark, persistent electronic droning, the beeps and chirps that never end. So out of place. Screens that try to beat back the darkness, unconsciousness, and an impending sense of doom. No one wants to answer the night crier. No one wins the lottery in the middle of the night. The mechanic doesn't call to say the car is ready. The principal doesn't inform you your child is doing well in school. Bad news sprints. Rushes, wings its way to you under moonlight, while good news, it can wait. Knock, knock. Here's a knocking indeed, and the news is absurdly from hell's blistered and gaping backside. The mind turns immediately to, who will it be this time? What kind of horrors are set to aboard? A horrible accident, a murder, a suicide, a break-in, a chemical spill, a hostage standoff, a drug deal going wrong, a torn blouse and black eye, a single call from a holding cell, an emergency room trip, a rake left in the middle of the lawn, x-rays and ultrasounds and splints and casts and corners. This is your mom, this is your dad, This is an unnamed police officer. This is a strange, deep breathing voice. Luckily, this is a wrong number. Okay, so this next one is what I did was I kind of front-loaded it and back-loaded a little bit to do some of these morning poems and some of these evening poems. So the next poem is In the Dark, 5:30 a.m., Friday, November 1st, 2019. And I had a couple of experiments I did when I wrote the book. And one of the experiments was I'm a real big believer, I don't know if a believer is it, I'm a practitioner, I don't know if that's the word either, of forced communication, which is from my copywriting background, which is to write something so that the reader has to respond in some way. And I had this one poem that I wrote to try to make people itchy, and I think in the end I only made me itchy. I don't think that the people reading it or listening to it ever turned out itchy. And this poem, In the Dark, 5:30 a.m. Friday, I wrote to try to change people's breathing. I wanted to change people's breathing as I read this. And I did it at an open mic one time, and John Miller said, it made him yawn, so I guess I had some kind of effect on people. Not the first time people had a yawn when I was reading the poem. So this is the poem. I'll not worry of beginnings, nor fret of endings. Instead, under a sincere ceiling, beneath an unseen sky of angry, exhausted clouds, breathe. Simply breathe. Inhale deeply into the belly, through the nose, bringing air keenly into the lower lobes of the lungs. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The abdomen will rise, and lungs are filled with heartfelt air to the greatest extent. Next, exhale through the mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the out-breath, the abdomen will sink back toward the spine. Be aware of ribs. Experience the rib cage expanding and contracting with each deep breath. This is everything. Air in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Air out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's nothing else. Just lungs and air and breath and pneuma. And maybe, if you're lucky, gratitude. There's a time later for the anxiety of the day, the rigors and defeats, the stalemates, the silliness, the people with agendas, the agendas with people, its own counting, base 60, and eating and worry and the myriad distractions. Breathe. This continual motion of the body, rarely considered, from infant to adulthood, aeolaing air into your body, orating it out again, lungs and ribs and muscles and diaphragm. At least 8 different things have to move air into a complex chemical reaction, and another 8 steps to exhale. Every day, every moment, without fail. Amazing. Amazing. Every cell needs oxygen, and they get it. A regular supply. And the air in this room has been breathed 100 times, 1,000,000 times. Maybe it's time to open the window and let flood in the cold and wet and ether that renews recirculating of itself. After, there's time for pregnant silences and grief. There's time for lanyarded hellos and speculative goodbyes. Time. In this moment, before everything that will follow, scripted and unscripted, there's breath. Breathe. Just breathe.
Yes.
So, The next poem I'm going to read is called Outside, 6:20 a.m. Friday, November 1st, 2019. It should be just like the very next one because it happens on the same day, just an hour later. I wrote this at a time when I was jogging in the morning. I don't do that anymore, but I wrote it when I was jogging in the morning. And so this is about that. Outside, 6:20 a.m. I like being outside at 6:20 a.m. I'm a morning person. There's no truer time than 6:20 in the morning. No need for lies in the cold slab, the pre-dawn air that streams breath and frost, spirit, comment, attacks knees, itches calves, causes the eyes and nose to run. There's always something to be left behind. A pain, an age, a ring of fat, a feeling about yourself, a dreadful emotion, all at this hour, in this condition, where footsteps are more grumble than gazelle. It's not enough to run away. You have to run toward. Knit cap, light gloves, long sleeve cotton sweatshirt, gym shorts, the rhythmic pounding of soles onto sidewalk, of breath to air, of heart, of skin, of substance, of reason, of life and mind and conscience and courage. Solitude is not loneliness. At 6:30 in this false light discovery, determination is your companion, grit your guardian, and foolhardiness your dearest friend. With the sun shadowed and as close as it is far away, the cracks that break your mother's back, the roots, the skunk's early morning travels are the only danger. The weightiest worry is not going at all, but to remain cocooned in the bed's exacting clasp. So much better in frigid than heat. This November temperature urges untirable, silent houses just now yawning to stir. Soon there will be a clattering of pans, the chattering clink of bowls, the drama of readying for school and work. But now, the radiant fog before silent horses chewing at silver-frosted fences, startling soundless deer. There is sweet breaking silence, tenderly won by will and stubbornness and guilt. Okay, so this next one happens at 1:45 p.m. DFW, 1:45 p.m. Wednesday, November 13th, 2019. And so different things in the book happen on different days. And so one of the things that happens in the book is, throughout the day, is a travel story, starting in PDX and then ending up in New Orleans. And so those things happen on Wednesday. And of course, when you travel from PDX to New Orleans, you have to make a stop over in Dallas-Fort Worth to get the connecting flight. So that's what this is about. And when I wrote this poem, there was a book that came out that I mentioned in the poem that the Poetry Foundation, Poetry Magazine, and a couple of other podcasts and publications that I listen to and pay attention to, they were pushing it really hard. And I was kind of resisting. So, and kind of my thoughts about it are contained in the little preamble to this poem by Longinus, which is, utterances which appear inspired are often not sublime, but merely childish. So here's the poem. People are endlessly entertaining. electrically engaging when they stop being as boring as hell. Now, in this slow prize eddy of TGI Fridays at gate A13, I got to think about things. There was this pathetic book of poems where some dingleberry used only the call letters of airports to construct his poems. Oh, the tweed wearers loved it. They loved it. I think the rest of us called it what it was, a gimmick. A gimmick, you know, like this one. I wonder if the tweed wearers will like this book. No, I don't. Most people here are on their phones. Dunk-headed, slouched, puddled, walled, obliviated, dopamined. Of course they are. The news feeds are more interesting than some guy coughing on a hamburger, 3 kids behaving badly, a woman falling out of her top, the expressions of old people whizzing by in those little electric carts. How do you even get one of those? With its own chauffeur. People watching. It should be called people judging. You know, like that pathetic skywritings book. What a mess. The kind of faux hip poetry that brings to mind cliched English teachers trying to broach poems by comparing sonnets to hip-hop in a room of jaded 14-year-olds. It only deepens their loathing for anything in verse. I think by the time this is all over, that book will be right up there with Casey at the bat and Kush Koman. Well, the buffalo wings have sniffed in. They always uplift for a second flight. Spicy, filling, maybe a little angry, with cool ranch, blue cheese, crisp carrots, so messy. With a smell that lingers on fingers for hours after washing. Unlike this airport and any affiliated writings. Okay. So I got 3 more here, and they're kind of towards the back. This first one's called In the Dark, 10:30 p.m. Saturday, November 30th, 2019. You are very studious. In the Dark, 10:30 p.m. Saturday. You got it? All right, here we go. Everything that was ahead has now been left behind. In the everythingness of everything, it is so final in these final moments, but not necessarily endpoints, more like waypoints. Even at the specific end, hours after the last meal, followed by the final night, pitched in front of the TV, the terminal toothbrushing, the final floss. Beneath covers and sheets, one last act of will to close eyes and slow breathing in an attempt to arouse a resting unconsciousness. If this were the end for me, for us, for the world, the galaxy, the universe, it would be presumptuous to think this very specific end, no matter how feeling it personally feels, would be the actual end, or an existential end, or a definitive, or all-inclusive, a boundary, and nothing beyond endpoint. This wagging tail end of everything is always attached to something else. Okay. And this next one is called In the Dark, 11:45 p.m. Sunday, November 19th, 1995. And this poem is, I tried to do something like this. I don't know if it was completely successful, but I tried it anyway. And the idea is that part of the poem is written from a baby's perspective, an infant's perspective, or about an infant. But anyway, that's kind of the feeling I was going for. I don't know if it worked out quite as well, but I think it works out okay. All right. In the dark, 11:45 p.m. No clocks, day, night, calendar, only hunger, light, comfort, dark, fear, smells. One of them is of love or comfort, or of a new kind of familiarity. I say. The question mark mused in the middle of the night, a riddle snapped into a onesie her grandmother bought, pink with hidden feet, hidden hands, composed myself to the crib in the reluctant light from the hallway, retrieved the crying package, red-faced and smelling of baby soap and something else. Without words, thoughts are sounds, smells, textures, sleep and straining to release. Body is everything. Unnamed hands, unknown feet, untamed knees, and kicking, and hearing. I say. Holding the siren in one hand, complete the following list: the refrigerator, the microwave, the rocker, the remote, the late show, rubber nipple gripped between toothless gums, one small font hand grasped a large font finger, the script of breathing, then both of us scribing circles and rocking back and forth and gently bouncing, riding for a burp. With eyes drowsing denouement, an attempt to lie her down and for me to line out and find my own way to slumber, a fundamentally different kind of sleep. Her sleep is a kind I cannot remember, a lost kind of consciousness no longer available, hidden under a pile of letters. Something is not right. Something is not right. I say. There's a difference between our stomachs, you know. A difference in expectation, delivery, patience, of what happens when there's crying in the night. What are baby dreams? They sleep so much. Eyes tracing back and forth beneath thin lids, mouth sleepily sucking, stories before structure, songs before music, words before language. I say. All right. So this is the last poem in the book. And the last poem I'm going to read tonight. It's called In the Dark, 11:55 p.m., Wednesday, November 23rd, 2005. I used to work and travel for my job a couple times a month. And so I'd get home late, and then I would go to work in the morning. So often, or even go to work on a Saturday. So this is about that. In the Dark, 11:55 p.m., Wednesday, November 23rd, 2005. Do you kiss a sleeping wife? After 10 days, 15 days on the road, carrying the drooping dust of airports and planes and rental cars, carrying the spent scars of odious beatings and angry time zones, 10 days of obligation, 10 days that liabilitate everything that makes men's lives shorter than women's. After 10 days away, the children have changed. Their faces, the food they like to eat, what they hate, their emotional scars, have been rearranged. They intuited something in the road to leave you. They are less of you for a while. They're a little more distant, a little more grown up. Responsibility has settled with them in ways that were not there had I not left for 10 days. They want less, listen less, need less. Do you kiss a sleeping wife? Risk breaking her slumber as you flag off the socks you donned 17 hours ago in the dark, exhausted pants and the logoed polo with a hamper. Slip into bed. There are adjustments now. To the November rain, to the November expectation, to the November settlement, schedules and scoldings, homework and housework. They adjust to me and I adjust to them. Do you kiss a sleeping wife? Yes. On the cheek. So, thank you all very much. There's cookies and some kind of Halloween candy there. Eat the cookies and eat the Halloween candy so I don't have to. And we'll come back in a little bit for the open mic.
Hey.